Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. My name is Nick Padone, filling in for Daniel Booby Gibson. Sam Amico joins me in the Big Play studio here at Burke Lakefront Airport. And as always, we're joined by Rafa Hernandez Brito, El Alcalde, joining us from vacation. Raf, I hope you're a lot warmer than we are up here in Cleveland.
It's a little chilly this morning, 71 degrees with a little breeze, like a 2-mile breeze that makes it feel like 73. But I think I should say I'm at the Big Play Coral Gables Studios in the capital of the sun.
Well, I'm very jealous there. And I know we wanted to kick off the show with a shout out to Cavs minority partner Myles Garrett, becoming the first player in NFL history with 4 seasons of 14-plus sacks. Tremendous achievement. Obviously, he was just named to the Pro Bowl as well. Raf, we had so many conversations last year, you and I in this studio, about Myles versus TJ Watt with the NFL honors. I know the Browns are not very good. This is a Cavs show. We're going to talk plenty of Cavs and NBA today on the program, but pretty cool to see Myles have that historic feat added to his Hall of Fame resume.
I think in any sport, Nick and Sam, when you do something that nobody else has ever done before, I think it's something to note. And Myles Garrett, who had that kind of close competition last year for Defensive Player of the Year and made it very clear against the Steelers this year that he is the number one, that everything goes through Myles Garrett, and he's shown it again. Unfortunately, the team hasn't really performed to the level that Myles has been doing it all his career, but nothing takes away from what Myles Garrett has done, guys, with attacking the quarterback, with tackles for the loss. He's 21 tackles for a loss, leading the NFL in that category as well. So I don't think there's any doubt, TJ Watt, you're second to Myles.
And that is a feeling that Raf feels very, very strongly about. Guys, in Hoops news, the Cavs now currently lead Boston at the time that we're taping this program here on Thursday, January 2nd by 5 games. That's a very nice cushion for the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, the number 1 team in the NBA. And we got to give a reminder out there to vote for the Cavs in the All-Star game. That's the biggest thing right now. All-Star voting is live. Make sure to show our Cleveland Cavaliers some love because, Sam, we want to be represented in the All-Star game this year.
They certainly deserve it, and I wrote that the other day in one of my columns is Darius Garland had that really nice game against the Warriors, and I thought, well, he's going to be back. He'll be back in San Francisco for the All-Star game. Obviously, what they're doing right now warrants – I don't remember. What did the 2015-16 Warriors have? They had 4 people go, right?
Everybody but the center.
Right. And I think the Cavs, really, it should be everybody. It should be the core 4 should all go. So they're certainly deserving, but you know how that goes and how that works out with fan voting and then some of the other media voting and all that. So it can be a little bit strange, but I think they deserve 4 guys.
Raf, how many do you think that they deserve? I think we're all in agreement that the core 4 deserves to be there. How many do we think actually could get in?
Without a doubt, the core 4 has done the job that we all know deserves to be recognized as one of the best. But there's 2 things here that we have to take into consideration. One is the Cavs fans need to go to votecavs.com and make their voice heard, because the 50% of the voting is from the fans. And we all know this is more than a popularity contest than anything else, because Sam had mentioned it here before. Whenever you talk about taking somebody out or leaving somebody out, who you going to take out that was elected? So let's just make it clear. This is a big opportunity for the Cavs fans, who have been very good at showing up at the home game, making us a basically best home field advantage in the NBA. That's one side of the story. The other one is that we have talked about a little bit here, that we have to do a little better job on Jared Allen, because I think when you have 4 guys that are clearly all-stars, one of them will probably suffer, and out of the 4, Jared Allen is the one that probably I see that the fans are going to leave out because of the position as center. But we've seen it in this road trip, guys, when Jared Allen is at the level that he was the last 2 games, we're talking about Warriors and Lakers, this team is a completely different team, especially when he's dominating the offensive boards and he's running he had a basket the other night against the Lakers where he was the last guy running back from defense to offense, and he's the one that ended up dunking. So when he brings that energy, we're a completely different team, and Garland has benefited from that as well.
Well, it's crazy to think that the Cavs went 10-1 in the month of December, but are they getting enough respect nationally? We'll answer that question and a whole lot more in our Cavalier headlines. Don't go anywhere. More of Full Court Cleveland right after this. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Network. Our Cavs headlines are brought to you by our friends over at Garage Beer. Enjoying Cavs basketball with Garage Beer this entire season has been a lot of fun. It's a more of a celebratory Garage Beer versus for our Browns, it's more of a we need these Garage Beer to get through the games. They come in just two flavors, a classic light lager and lime, no frills, no bitterness, no IPAs. It is just beer-flavored beer. You'd find local retailers near you who sell Garage Beer by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. All right, guys, the Cavs went 10-1 in the month of December. That's obviously the best record in the NBA right now, also the best record in the NBA throughout December. But I think a lot of people, at least here locally in Ohio, think that the Cavs deserve a little bit more credit nationally, Sam. And obviously they're going to follow their LeBrons and their Stephs, but it would be nice to see the Cavs getting a little bit more love, maybe a little bit more respect here, at least in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Ohio's giving them their love, but come on, we need a little bit more national affection here.
Well, and I think that's part of the deal is that you don't have the LeBron James or Steph Currys or guys who are, or even the Kevin Durants who are, historically been the guys to carry the league, who are now in their upper 30s or in LeBron's case, 40. But to me, what the Cavs have done, whether it's just local or national, it's just been almost, and I say this with a great deal of admiration, bizarre. The way that they're just, the ball is moving, they're beating the Warriors. I mean, you played three teams this month that were looking for revenge for losing in Cleveland, and three teams that are capable of revenge in the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Lakers, and the Cavs went into each of their buildings and took care of business. I've never seen anything like this covering the Cavs. I've never seen anything like this following the Cavs before. So while nationally it's not been a big part of the NBA conversation, it's been too small of a part of the conversation, it's really been amazing to watch. And it's something that I think locally there's so much appreciation for it because we haven't seen this before during a regular season in the NBA for the Cleveland team.
Rava, any thoughts on that?
I agree with everything that Sam has said, and I think we continue to see signs of a team that is built for the long run here. We saw it in the beginning of this West Coast road trip, guys. Got teams where the Cavs didn't play their best game in the first half. The Warriors game, comes to mind. But the defense made them stay within a striking distance, and then they make a run starting in the third quarter, basically a Donovan Mitchell run, and continue with the threes. They have, 7 straight games with at least 18 three-point field goals made. They have won 8 straight by over 10 points. You mentioned the West Coast. When the critics, and you talk about the attention that we should be getting nationally, I don't think there's anything that the guys are worried about. I just find it funny how they are continuing to run out of things to say every time a day goes by or another month goes by with the Cavs winning the way they've been winning. Because at first it was, it's a good start. Hey, one last, it's a long season. Then it was, the easy schedule. Then they go on to stay undefeated against the West. Now is that they're only facing the weak West Coast team. Come on. I mean, when is it going to be the time when people are going to sit down and recognize that what Kenny Atkinson and his coaching staff has done to transform this team to one of the best, or if not the best offensive team in the league, to one of the best defensive teams? And we have to look at that too, because they've been averaging only allowing 107.3 points per game since those days of practices that Kenny Atkinson had with the squad. So I think they are a complete team. They are one of the best benches in the league, maybe not by numbers or scores, whatever, but the way that Kenny Atkinson has been using his rotations, he continues to work with the three that accompany the Froland or the M&M duo. But at the end of the day, we have survived injuries. We have injuries of guys coming back like Max Strus, who finally makes some threes in consecutive threes in the game against LA. So I don't know what to say to the media other than just sit back and enjoy, because we're no longer a surprise, guys. We are the team to beat in the NBA and, of course, in the East as well.
The Cavs season right now isn't even halfway done. They've played 33 games to this point. When you multiply that 33 number by 2, I feel like the Cavs are going to be a part of that NBA playoff picture conversation that the national media isn't going to be able to ignore for very much longer. We hear so much about right now the Lakers and what Wembanyama is doing, maybe a little bit of Boston because they're the defending champs that have Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, but in a couple months, which will move very quickly, they're not going to be able to ignore what this basketball team is doing up here in Cleveland. All right, guys, we're going to keep this thing moving along. The Cavs are also 9-0 versus the Western Conference at the time that we're recording this. They've beaten the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Pelicans twice, also beat Utah. What about the Western Conference, Sam? The Cavs just seemingly have their number here.
Yeah, 9-0 against the West, with that game against Dallas coming up. So I think that it's just, it really doesn't matter East or West. They're playing the style of basketball that is going to be good enough to beat anybody on any given night. And I think with them, they just stick to their principles. Again, I hate to say the word bizarre, but I mean, it's really been something that we haven't seen this type of start. Imagine if the Lakers were starting like this.
Right.
It would be insufferable. We would never hear the end of it. So what they're doing, and the fact that it's kind of flying under the radar, is even kind of cooler because, here they are 9-0 against the Western Conference. Everybody at the start of the season said, "Oh, the Eastern Conference stinks this year. Other than the Celtics, there's nobody. And the West is going to be so good and so tight." And here the Cavs come out, don't just start 15-0, but now, 9-0 against the Western Conference, had won 8 straight games by double digits. And, really to me, when I look at 2 teams right now that are above the fold, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers and Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody wants to talk about that, but at the same time, those 2 teams are really setting kind of the example of this is how you play winning basketball, and you can do it in a market size that's not going to be discussed from the national media a lot.
Yeah, they're not going to have the opportunity to ignore it much longer. NBA trade deadline is about a month away, and it's February 6th. A lot of people are asking, do the Cavs need to make a move? There's a logjam on this Cavs roster of a lot of guys that play the game a similar way. Now, we've seen that work in the NBA in the past. There's been a little bit of chatter on this show of adding a backup big. Sam, where do you fall on that? Cavs trade deadline just about a month away. Crazy to say.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. It's gone fast. I would say you wouldn't want to mess with success. Now, could they, obviously this is Kobe Altman we're talking about, and he is a mover and a shaker when the need arises. But I don't think there's the need other than what you just said, Nick. There's probably, you can always use an extra body in the front court, particularly, when you factor in injuries, the length of the season. Yeah, that would probably be the one area where they would want to go out and get somebody else, and I like what Tristan Thompson brings, and you like what JT Thor brings, but you can never have enough big guys, and that's never really changed in the NBA. I don't think that they will shake up the roster to go get one, but you could find ways to get one without making a trade. I'd be surprised if they made a trade with as well as things are going.
Awesome. Straight ahead, we're going to jump into some of the matchups that await our Cleveland Cavaliers, the Mavericks, the Hornets. Could we see an upcoming NBA Finals preview? We'll answer that question more when we return on Full Court Cleveland. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Nick Padone, joined in studio at our Burke Lakefront Airport headquarters by Sam Amico, longtime Cavs reporter and Cavs legend. Raf, I'm putting you in that category right now. The host of the Wall of Honor, it is Rafa Hernandez Brito. Guys, it's time to break down some upcoming matchups. The Cavs will finally come back here to Cleveland at some point in the next week. But Friday, they've got a matchup against the Mavericks. Luka Doncic is going to be questionable to play in that game. And Dallas is 1-4 since he went down on Christmas Day with that injury, Sam.
Yeah, it's a different team. Obviously, you lose your star player in Doncic, and he's, as well as Kyrie Irving has played this year, the addition of Klay Thompson has actually helped them surprisingly. I was surprised that Klay Thompson's got anything left, but he's actually helped them a little bit. But you lose a player like Luka, and yeah, that hurts.
And that's going to be the last game of this West Coast road trip. Raf, what did you learn? What have the Cavs shown you throughout this trip out west thus far?
I think one thing that I mentioned earlier is the fact that they can actually recover from bad stretches like they had in LA, with taking a couple of times, twice, I think, or three times, double-digit lead and then double pointing, and then, the Lakers coming back, but they were able to adjust along the way with the Warriors. They played a bad first half, let's say, and then they recovered to take the lead at the end of the half and then just finish it off. But another thing that we had seen is how that mentality of the next man up continues to work. And I hate the cliches, but hey, Okoro goes out, one of our best defenders, right? And let's say it. And then Dean Wade just have had a stretch like anybody can dream of. He had his first double-double of the season. He's been going up to 10 rebounds every time, playing some amazing defense, not only against big guys, but also guarding the perimeter, which is one of the things the Cavs do so well when they go into that little zone and they just grab. Anybody can switch from 1 to 5, including Mobley and Allen. So I think those are the things that give the Cavs opponents a very hard time, with the number one being the fact that unless there's foul trouble by any of the core four, our opponent is going to have to deal with 48 minutes of at least 2 All-Stars on the court when you have the M&Ms and Mobley and Mitchell, or the Froland duo of Allen and Garland, and then 3 very good shooters, very good team defenders coming off the bench. So I think those are the things that will tell a lot for the Cavs. And when you talk about what's coming up, okay, let's give something to the critics that we have swept New Orleans, LA, Denver, and the Warriors, and Utah 1 game. But now we have 2 against Houston and 2 against Oklahoma City. And those are going to be, let's say, the next thing is going to be, if the Cavs are still here for the All-Star break, then let's see what happens in March. So I don't know, guys, but I think this stretch of games, 15 games in January, 8 at home, 7 on the road, will tell a lot about what we could expect going forward into what we want to do, which is play in the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot of basketball still to be played. And Ralph, you're mentioning all of those All-Stars. A team that's not going to want to see any of those All-Stars, the hapless Charlotte Hornets on Sunday. The Cavs are already 2-0 against the Hornets this season. Sam, is this one of those games where the Cavs could potentially look to put a couple guys on the bench, maybe get Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland a little bit more extended rest, because the game in theory should be in hand kind of early?
You would think. Now, these games that you come back from these West Coast swings, if you look in the past, historically, the Cavs have, now this is a different Cavs team, but historically these teams, you come back from a successful road trip and then you play some, nobodies at home, and you can struggle in those games, So that would be, Nick, a great thing for the Cavs to be able to do, frankly, is get some of these guys some rest. If not, sit them out the entire game, get them out, early in the game. And the one thing we saw on this West Coast trip that, is just amazing is Dean Wade had a career game at Golden State with career high 13 rebounds and just some amazing defense. And then Jared Allen, 27 points, 14 rebounds against the Lakers. Max Strus comes in and has a 15-point game. So you can just count on so many different guys on this team that you would hope that, yes, you would be able to rest some guys during what would be a trap game against the Charlotte Hornets at home.
Well, no trap. Go ahead,
those
Rob.
are the games that are always dangerous, guys.
Yes.
I call them the minefield because, the Charlotte Hornets, the Pistons have been playing well on the J.B. Bickerstaff, but those are the two opportunities that I think they will have in order to rest. Remember, we finished the month with two back-to-back, Philadelphia away and then Houston at home, and then we finished the month with in Miami and coming back to play the Hawks, who have won both games against us. So I don't know about rest that way, but I think the fact that Kenny Atkinson have been managing the time, the minutes played by everybody. I think these guys are going to be fresh, especially of the rest that we just came back from and the rest that is coming for the week of the All-Star break.
Sure.
And there's no denying that this won't be a trap game, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder on Wednesday. The Thunder are 27-5 at the time that we're recording this. Obviously, I hope that this is an NBA Finals preview. The Cavs, of course, I want to come out of the East, but in the Western Conference, I think the Thunder would be a very fun story that, they finally get their first crack back at the NBA Finals since that team that had Westbrook, Durant, and Harden all employed. How do the Cavs match up with the Thunder, Sam?
I think it's an excellent matchup in terms of personnel, the way that they play, the style that they play. The Thunder are very much like the Cavs in the sense that they move the basketball. They have a true blue superstar in SGA, and they're a young group that you can't tell them you're not supposed to be this good. They don't believe it. So I think that those two teams have a very much in common.
Raf, what are you looking forward to? Obviously, for this one, SGA is going to have a lot of the attention. The Cavs this year have done a great job defending kind of by committee. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, these guys working together to stop perimeter guards, and faster players like Shai that can score the basketball seemingly at will every single night. How do they slow down SGA, and what are some other matchups that we should be watching out for in this one?
I think with SGA, you just gotta go into the game and saying, okay, you can do whatever you want, but you're not gonna beat us by yourself. And I think the matchup as well, these are two very similar teams, young guys that have been together for a while. Oklahoma even has the coach been there with them throughout the whole renaissance of the Thunder. So I think the bigs are going to be a good matchup because Hartenstein always bring a lot of energy. Also, in SGA, he's a very explosive guy. He's a 30 points per game guy. So you have to worry about the other. I'm hoping that we come out, shoot as well as we have been doing, not only from the field, but also from long distance, and try to get Oklahoma to match us. And we already saw what happens to Oklahoma when they try to match up the long game with in the finals of the Emirates NBA Cup. They're not a good 3-point shooting, I guess, team when you put them next to us. But that would be, I think, the difference: who shoots better and who sticks to the guns and doing the fundamental things, like in the Cavs case, just the defensive game, closing out much better now for the 3-pointer and that transition game. Both young team guys. It's going to be a race, I think. It's going to be a high-scoring game. They both score a lot. They both prevent scoring a lot. So it's the kind of game that finally national TV put both games on now on TNT and ESPN. So I'm excited to see how the guys react to playing. They have said it. They want to play close games because when you play those blowout games, which they have been doing almost the whole month of December, it's hard to get into the mode of like the 1 possession, 2 possession game, which they have shown they can also win. But hey, I'm sure they wouldn't mind not seeing a close game, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be.
And a big piece of all of these blowout victories has been that Cleveland Cavalier bench. Who are the most people on that bench? We're going to talk about that. We're going to answer that. Full Court Cleveland is locked and loaded for our Power Rank segment. We'll be right back. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Nick Padone, Sam Amico joining you guys from our studio here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Rafa Hernandez Brito joining the program as always as well. Guys, it's time for our Power Rank segment. I know you guys are going to try to sneak a couple bonus ones on this one as well, but I'm going to try to limit it to just 3. We've talked so much about the importance of the Cavs bench, what the entire roster from top down has meant to the success of this team so early in the season. But today we're going to power rank our top 3 most important players off of that Cavalier bench.
Yeah, and I sadly will stick to 3, but obviously, you know, I think that you look at the guys who have been coming in right away. Karis LeVert has been fantastic at both ends in terms of, you know, being able to guard multiple positions, create shots for others, score himself. Just been a veteran who, you know, really is kind of the leader of the bench in terms of the style that he's playing. Ty Jerome has been huge in, you know, really probably the least amount of minutes of the regular guys, Ty Jerome, but he's made such a huge impact, even though his numbers aren't as great as they were during that 15-0 stretch. He's still coming in, giving you the same thing night after night. And I hate to leave, you know, people out, but I really think if you look at George Niang this year, he's another guy who's a different player in terms of production. Last year, he had a pretty decent year, but this year he's come in and just really, there's been games where he has saved the game. We saw that against the Utah Jazz. So, you know, there's so many guys that you could name, but it's 2025, and I'm going to stick to 3 this time instead of, you know, at least for the first week. You know, the second week is when you always give up your New Year's resolutions. So I can't promise moving forward I'll stick to 3, but I will this time.
Hey, I'll start with one different than Sam, even though I agree with most of it, is, you know, we're talking about the best guy from the bench up to now, what we have right now, because obviously we're not counting Max Strus coming off the bench since he just had, like 4 or 5 games at this moment. But I think Dean Wade, even though he had started probably half the game he has played, Dean Wade has to be put up there at the top because of the difference and the size and the hidden athleticism Dean Wade brings. He's been shooting the ball well, coming off the bench or starting. So I got to put Dean Wolf, because he's been seriously wolfing lately, and he goes at the top of my list. The second one is my man, the Wolverine, Caris LeVert, who is a guy who should have won more than probably a couple of 6-man awards so far in his career, but obviously the Jordan Clarkson and other people that had performed better. But I think Caris LeVert will be my number 2. And my number 3 guy, it's a battle of the curse of the yellow Jeep guys. I don't know, but I'm going to end up giving it to Ty Jerome over George Niang, just because of what you mentioned, Sam, because of what he has done in the limited amount of minutes that he has played and how he has behaved coming in, whether it's 5, or it's 10, or it's 15, where he's starting. Ty Jerome has been somebody that has not cost much when he comes in the game. Actually, sometimes it's even better when they put him on the court with Garland as well. So those are my 3. Dean Wolf, obviously the Wolverine, and Ty Jerome.
Look at you guys starting the new year out, keeping it to just 3 in our Power Rank segment. And I love Dean Wade making an appearance on this list. I saw this stat and I had to pull it up just to make sure that I'm reading it correctly. The Cavs have an 88-33 record with Dean Wade on the floor since they traded for Donovan Mitchell. They're 39-36 without him in that span. I think that just speaks to the importance of Dean Wade. It speaks to the chemistry chemistry that he's built with Donovan Mitchell, with the core four. They're 22-1 with Dean Wade on the floor this season. He is such an important piece to what the Cavaliers have been able to do. Obviously, as that bigger guy that could stretch the floor, shoot the three, but also a very capable defender, passer. This Cavs bench is just awesome, and I feel like it's a new player every single night, which is a recipe for success. Alrighty, guys. Well, the NBA never sleeps, and I know we just came off of a busy holiday week of Christmas. Then we had Hanukkah started up. Right after that, we have New Year's Eve and the New Year. The storylines don't stop. Mike Brown got fired. LeBron said that he could play 5 to 7 more years. We're going to tackle all of these topics. Don't go anywhere. More of Full Court Cleveland straight ahead. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Huge props to our guys, Sam Amico and Rafa Hernandez Brito, for keeping their power rank to just 3. I know how strenuous that can be on you both, but we're starting the new year off on the right foot. Well, unfortunately for the Sacramento Kings, they're starting 2025 with the interim head coach, as it was announced that Mike Brown, no longer the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Now, the Kings were 108-89 in Mike Brown's 2 seasons as head coach of the Kings. They've finally been above 500 for the first time twice since 2006. So the Kings finally felt like they were an organization on the up and up. This season, they've had their struggles so far out there in the Western Conference. As we've discussed so far on today's show, the season isn't even halfway over. Unfortunately for former Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Mike Brown, 2-time Cavalier head coach Mike Brown, he's not going to have the opportunity to turn around the Kings this year.
No, and he led them to the first playoff appearance since before the invention of the iPhone.
Wow.
That's how long it had been since the Sacramento Kings had made the playoffs before Mike Brown. I think there's something. Mike's one of the nicest people I've ever run into in the NBA, certainly nicest people I've ever covered. I think that there's something to the old nice guys finish last, comments and cliche. But I think that Mike is a great coach and a great tactician. But the issue from everything I hear around the NBA is he doesn't always know how to sell what he's teaching and preaching to the players. And that's a big part of the job. He did it, he can do it for a few years, and then I think his voice kind of goes, mute to the guys on the team for whatever reason. I don't know. But, there's always going to be a fall guy when you're not living up to expectations, and the Sacramento Kings aren't, and the fall guy is almost always first the coach. It starts with the coach. So, that's just, and Mike Brown, look, every coach knows you go into the job that odds are you're going to get fired at some point, unless you're a Steve Kerr or Eric Spoelstra or somebody, or Greg Popovich. Odds are it's not going to last. But Mike Brown deserves credit, and he'll resurface. He'll find another spot eventually.
Ralph, what was your initial reaction when you saw that report come across from Shams Charania that Mike Brown out as the lead man in Sacramento?
2 things. The first one was, how much did it affect the Kings? Not only the fact that they didn't really do much, or that, I think, they got the Rosen coming in, but it's not like they really loaded up to get better and try to beat the Warriors or try to get something in the West. What we have been talking about, it's always considered one of the toughest conference. But also, the exit of Jordi Fernandez, his number 1 assistant, going to Brooklyn. I wonder how much that affected defensively the Sacramento Kings. We all know how active and how involved Jordy was with Mike and the Kings, and also the Aaron Fox has been showing some signs of unhappiness there, and it is a team that I don't know anybody that had the Kings anywhere close to the top of the list in the Western Conference. So I don't know whether it is a mixture of expectations by the front office and the work they did to fulfill those expectations. But like Sam said, at the end of the day, you can't fire 18 active contracts, or you're gonna fire yourself in the front office. You gotta change something. And unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. And done very well. The coaches know it the moment they get the job. So it's sad to see Mike Brown go, but at the end of the day, I don't think that solves any issues in Sacramento. What position they're in now, whether they start to rebuild and unload, or they reload and see if they can continue with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox.
Well, we started the program maybe dogging on the national media a little bit for not giving our Cavs enough love, enough coverage, because they just talk so much Lakers. Well, now we're going to succumb to it, because the Lakers and the Nets made a trade, sending D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and 3 second-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton of the Brooklyn Nets. What's this move do for the Lakers, Sam? How do you like that trade?
Well, I think the Dorian Finney-Smith is for the Lakers is what they were hoping to get out of Jared Vanderbilt, but they haven't been able to get that out of him because he's been hurt, which is a 3-and-D wing type of guy. Dorian Finney-Smith's having a pretty good year, but he's very inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from him from night to night. And, you know, we've said this about the Lakers before. Outside of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, you never know what you're going to get. Against the Cavs, Austin Reeves had a career game, which he tends to do against the Cavs. But that's just that's the Cavs' defensive MO. Contain LeBron, contain Davis a little bit, let one other guy go nuts, and we're going to be fine. So as far as Dorian Finney-Smith goes and Milton, Milton actually played a better game against the Cavs than Dorian Finney-Smith when he went out there and hit a couple threes. But I think for the Lakers, does this move the needle? Potentially a little bit, because it's always all about fit, right? And I think that maybe these guys are a better fit. Russell had worn out his welcome there, just was too inconsistent. And I guess to answer your question, Nick, it seems like, maybe they'll win 2 or 3 more games because of this move, but it's not a move that's going to put them over the top.
Yeah, and Roth, they're currently the 7th seed in that Western Conference. I mean, this is a move that they're probably really hoping for the upside. Maybe the fit is just seamless, and Dorian Finney-Smith is the type of shooter to complement LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Shake Milton being that ball handler that D'Angelo Russell couldn't have been, or like Sam said, just got tiresome of being. Otherwise, this move for the Lakers kind of just feels like more of the same.
That's exactly what it is, Nick. I think, and it just tells you, especially when you say the Lakers, who are always making the move that will get them to that next level. But at this time, the level they're in is playing, and they want to get to the level of at least the 6. And I don't think that makes a big difference unless you consider what could happen in terms of injuries, like the one that Luka just had, or anybody else in the West, maybe Denver having some issues with their bench and all that, and the marathon that the All-Star game will bring after. But I don't think this is anything to write home about. Dorian Finney-Smith is a player that could come into a contending team and be that extra piece coming off the bench to get you, couple of triples, 3 triples. But it's not somebody that you come in and say, man, we need Dorian Finney-Smith to come in and win the championship. And let's be honest. And on D'Angelo Russell, yes, he wore out his stay in LA, and he's coming up for a new stay in Brooklyn to see how long this lasts for him, because everywhere he's been, it kind of been an issue. So unfortunately, I don't really care anyway, but I don't think this is a move that will put the Lakers in any kind of playoff picture that, oh my God, you got to watch out for the Lakers.
No, it doesn't seem that way. Up to that point, I mean, this is already D'Angelo Russell's 2nd trip now to the Nets. So we'll I guess hope for his case, for the Brooklyn Nets case, that this second time around goes a little bit better than the first time around. Alrighty, guys, LeBron James turned 40 years old. The Cavs defeated 40-year-old LeBron James in his first time in Cleveland, but he said after the game that he feels like if he wanted to, he could play at a high level in the NBA for 5 to 7 more years. Are we actually going to see 5 to 7 more years of King James? We'll talk about all of that on Full Court Cleveland. Don't go anywhere. Welcome on back into Full Court Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Nick Padone, Sam Amico, Rob Hernandez Brito. Rob, it's so weird not having you in studio, man. I'm so excited.
I'll be back next week.
And I get to go to the Corals Gables studio when Rob comes back.
Right, we're gonna switch, and me and Sam are gonna do the show from poolside out there in the Sunshine State. Guys, obviously the Cavs beat the Lakers. Now it's a sweep of the Los Angeles Lakers in 2 games that never really felt that close. It's weird for me as a Cavs fan that really my entire fandom has been linked to LeBron James. I was born in 1998. He began with the team in the very early 2000s. I mean, it's weird for me to now see the Cavs having the amount of success that they're having and the Lakers sputtering at the bottom of the Western Conference despite LeBron playing this well. And after the Cavs defeated Los Angeles this past week, LeBron came out and said, you know, if I wanted to, and wanted being the operative word, he could play at this high level of basketball for the next 5 to 7 years. Now, I don't think anybody expects LeBron to play 5 to 7 more years. Yeah. Selfishly, I would like it, though.
Yeah, right. I would, too. I want to see LeBron. I think, look, how many NBA players have there been after the age of 43, 44 is really the I think Karl Malone, Robert Parrish, I think Stockton played to. I'm sorry, who else, Ralph?
Willis,
Kevin Willis, but that's not really a modern thing anymore. Guys are checking out of the NBA by 37, 38, 39. Excuse me. I would love to see LeBron James playing at 47 just to see how it goes. It wouldn't go that well, but I would love to see it anyway, just to say he did it. And the one thing we've seen now about LeBron is he's not going to carry you to great things. He's got to be your second or third guy. The Lakers are still approaching it as if he's your main guy, and that's fine, but you're not going anywhere with that. He's got to be your second or third guy, and he would be an amazing second or third guy, and that says a lot about a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be if he's your main guy, and he is their main guy, because you take him out of that lineup, and they just look like Anthony Davis Pelicans teams. So he's got to be the guy who drives everything for the Lakers, and that's been their problem is they haven't been able to find pieces to put around him. But yeah, I think it'd be really cool watching any guy play at 47 years old in the NBA. As an old guy, I would love it.
Rob, where do you fall? Where do you fall on all this, man?
Well, as an older guy, I appreciate and I applaud LeBron for taking care of himself so well and for working so hard. Because love him or hate him, and I'm telling you, he was not on my team for so many years of his career, so I wasn't on the love him side. But coming to work and seeing him work every day, day in and day out for 8 years, Miami and Cleveland, you have to admire the fact that this dude is not this great just because he just was born with all these talents. He polished them. He earned everything that he's got, and you have to give that to him. Do I think he can do it? Yes. And I think it's very important what Sam just said. He could go to a team and be that brain offensively and defensively, because this is a guy like there has been very few in the history of basketball and maybe any sport where he can actually see 2-3 plays ahead, knows what the other team is running, and just can actually help a lot a young team, get to the promised land. But I think the future for him is playing against maybe Maximus, because considering the program that he just committed to, which is Arizona, a very good basketball program, I don't think he's going to have to do much campaigning to get him drafted, and they might not get the favor of letting him drop to the Lakers if that's where LeBron is in a couple of years. So I believe that he will play at least 2 more years. Don't ask me where he's retiring and what I'd like him to do, because I hate those type of questions. But I think LeBron James can still be the second or third option in a team that could benefit a lot from his qualities of ethics,
for sure,
and his work. There's no way you cannot say it will help a team in whatever capacity, except for where he is right now, which is the main guy and nobody around him.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be covering that. We'll be covering our Cleveland Cavaliers a whole lot more. Make sure to download that Big Play Sports Network app so you can keep it locked with Full Court Cleveland episodes on demand wherever you are, on your iPhone, on your Roku. Make sure to go download that. Until next week, let's go Cavs.
And I will be covering Ohio State championship run.